Economists really are concerned about those two branches, the macroeconomics to start with. And in macroeconomics, there are indicators. We are not just to say, oh, this is what I feel about economics. Economics is not a field of feelings. It's a field of science and indeed social science. First, we look at what is growth. What is happening to growth? Growth is expected to be positive and to be sustained over a period of time. And if we have changes to it, this growth will then transform to development. Desire of several nations is to move from just being a third world country to a first world country. Nigeria, according to the report shared by the Bureau of Statistics, have seen over 3% GDP growth rate, nearly 4% GDP growth rate. This is commendable, even though what is expected for us as a nation that want to eat that $1 trillion economy as projected by Mr. President is to have a minimum of 17% GDP growth rate. Yes, we are positive, we commend it, but we also need to put our eye on the ball. If we don't put our eye on the ball, there are countries smaller in population, smaller in capacity that are leaving us behind. What have they done? If time permit me, I will share solutions and articulate how we can move from where we are to where we should be. The next one is inflation. Nigeria inflation at this point in time is important for us to be careful. Not to say headline inflation compared to last year is 14% or is 50%. Both will not be very correct. This is the reason. We are currently going through a period of rebasing. Now we have done rebasing of inflation numbers. And what you have now in econometrics can be posted as outliers. Please, for those who may not really comprehend what I meant, I like to break down what I say. Now, when I say outlier, it doesn't mean that the people posting the numbers are lying or they are saying the truth. It's none of the two. It's none of the two. We're saying that we have made a major adjustment to how we calculate inflation, and that ultimately will affect the outcome of what the numbers will be. That perhaps is the reason why we have seen that immediately after rebasing, we saw inflation gain 10%. If you ask those who are watching us now, live, or those watching on YouTube, and of course those that will comment on X, you can check if in that period, I think around April or May or April this year, if inflation for general average price of goods and services we consume, if it ever dropped by 10%, the answer is no. I mean, Nigerian too, the answer is no. And the chief of Bureau of Statistics told us that this rebasing exercise we carried out is not that you start seeing price dropped. Yes, price will drop over time, but that's not the reason why you might see. What we have done is that we have adjusted the base year to reflect some realities. So that's what it is. So the basket was adjusted, base year was adjusted, and that's what it is. So before you start checking what the true figure of inflation will be, it will be around Y2 2026 or end of Y1, that's end of half year from July. You start seeing what, because now we'll be comparing the rebase year with the rebase year. What we are doing now is to compare this year, rebase year, to the year before the rebasing. Clearly, the economic prosperity in 2009 that we're using before is a far more prosperous year than the current year we have adopted. So that will show. But whatever it is, we're actually going to have the impact of rebasing. Even though we get to next year, the impact will still be there. But the impact will not be as we have seen it now. So when people say that, oh, maybe the agency is lying, no, the agency carried out an exercise. The exercise will not totally reflect reality. So for many people that have asked me, inflation, I went to one of the professional bodies in Nigeria, top professional bodies, and they asked me, oh, you said inflation is 4%. It led to a major, it led to people speaking back, no, it cannot be true. And I said, listen, inflation is 4%, you should ask me using which methodology. As a speaker there, I said unemployment, I beg your pardon, is 4% because, which is another macroeconomic variable, because we have adjusted the base, the methodology. Before now, we were using 20 hours a week. That is, if you work with your organization, Channels Television, for 4 hours a day, 5 days, you have worked 20 hours a week. You are now going to calculate that you are employed. That is no longer the methodology. Right. The methodology now is that if you work for 1 hour, that is, if this show were to be 1 hour, and you work every week for 1 hour, irrespective of the pay, whether you are paid 70,000 or 1 billion naira, you are now classified as employed. So when people need to understand what is driving, my advice, of course, to the Bureau of Statistics is that put all the numbers there. Put the one ULO said you should use 1 hour a week. They say it's not even the influence of ULO, it's what is globally acceptable. But also put the reality of Africa. Now, in those economies, income is determined per hour, so it's understandable. But in this economy, most income are determined per month. And for you to work in major establishments, you need to work 8 hours.
Right.
So that we compare things correctly and know that, yes, this is what is globally acceptable, especially for most part of Europe. But in Africa, this is what is obtainable. So when people see that unemployment is 4 to 5%, but we still have a lot of unemployment in the real sense, people now start accusing, maybe we are not doing the right thing. We're saying, let the numbers reflect the reality. That does not mean that the number release is wrong, because when I tell you it's 1 hour a week, then it makes sense that we are talking of 4%, because for that number, the actual rate we should be less than 2%.
Right.
But when you talk about 4%, then you know there is an issue. We are to adopt the 20%, the number we should be less than 10%, which is single digit. The same with inflation, it should be single digit. It's a major improvement from where we were anyways. But if you compare, if you use the previous rate to compare, then you definitely not have the numbers we're having today. Then the positive one for me here is what is happening to exchange rate. We have largely seen stability, we have seen reserve, thankfully, to Dangote's refinery. And this brings me here. Now we need to be very careful, very, very careful not to destroy businesses that are building Nigeria.
Right. You can land on that point. I know you've built it up to this climax. So we need
to be careful not to destroy businesses that are building Nigeria. You must have seen movie, The Men That Built America. I'm not saying that it's exactly the same thing. But you see, Dangote's production of diesel and PMS has been largely, at least more than 30%, accountable for the reserve that is surging, that is increasing. What does that mean to you, Mr. Kayode, that the reserve is surging? It means that the money in your pocket will not get devalued. I don't think there's any central bank in the world that says, I want to punish my people, therefore let me devalue their currency. So we need to look for what are those businesses that are giving us import substitution and at the same time promoting export. I completely support competition, but in doing all of this, we should be careful not to destroy our best.